All right. So 1 minute in from the Rumble stream. Now I am live on YouTube. All right. So here we go. So as you guys know, or haven't known, or really care, or even bother, I'm currently disabled from my Facebook account. Now that could mean several things. That could mean a permanent ban, which I can't begin to really objectively see how or why. However, you got to understand that this is YouTube. I'm sorry, not YouTube. This is Facebook. This is Meta. They can do whatever they want. It's their own subjective rules that they play by and whatever it is that they want to do. So, aside from perhaps maybe over spamming, and I'm going to be very honest with you guys about everything aside from a possible spanning of constantly sharing my content so that I can ramp up the views, I really don't see any other violation that I have committed. Now, the interesting thing about that was that it actually kind of motivated me to look at other platforms, which is what you see on the description below right now. You see Rumble, obviously Twitter, because of the fact that it's under now the uh, Elon Musk regime. You have Rumble, that's the new kid in the block, which, in all honesty, when I was looking at the instructions on how to upload videos on that particular content, it gave me an early 2005, 2006 YouTube vibe, where they were basically coming from a place where they were trying to promote, let's say, cat videos or videos that didn't really mean anything other than just, oh, it looks cute. It's something that we can share in this new internet world. Well, lo and behold, coming from the MySpace era, if you notice how much of a Wild West that was in those days of early social media, then all of a sudden Facebook came into town because it seemed like the cool, hip brother of the family that you want to hang out with, aside from, let's say, the boring, stiff older brother that just didn't really want to do much. So here's this new and exciting thing that's coming into your life. Well, now I got into Facebook, and all of a sudden, all my friends that I knew back in New Jersey were like, you know what? Let's hop on this channel. Let's hop on this particular platform. That was right around 2009. Now, keep in mind, that was a different era of social media back then. Perhaps you had a lot more mobility in terms of what you're able to post, in terms of the controversy that you want to bring. However, not so much within the limited space of the context that you can write. Whereas now you can literally write articles in Facebook if you wanted, which myself, I've been guilty of as well. Well, here's something that you guys got to understand. So when I got started into Facebook, obviously, like everybody else, it was the seamlessly harmless aspect of, okay, we're going to get on this platform. We're going to keep up with all my friends that I haven't seen in ages, maybe just in a couple of years, 4 to 5 years out of high school or something like that. And now we're all connecting. All, especially after moving to the West Coast, to which I had no everyday contact with, let's say, the people that I personally knew growing up in New Jersey. And at the time, you have to understand the accumulated amount of relationships, contacts, and potential business partners that I got out of Facebook and other social media outlets is an absolute blessing, which is what it's absolutely used for. You also got to understand the other aspect of it creates a lot of negativity, creates a lot of toxic environment in which that you look and see in Facebook Watch. You always see something that tries to trigger you into feeling ashamed of yourself, or feeling ashamed of what you have going on, or feeling ashamed of your relationship, or feeling ashamed of your family, or feeling ashamed of who you are. Whatever it is, you have to understand the whole bottom line of social media is to make you feel less of yourself. You are the reason why a lot of these people go out there and get the Bugattis, get all the nice houses, nice cars, and try to show it off, for the simple fact that it's that type of world that it has now cultivated. Look at me, look at my status, look what I can do. So now that we have that going on, this is the type of environment that is festering in those types of social media sites. So at the same time, if they were to, let's say, disable my account permanently, would I be sad about it? Absolutely. But I would not be so sad to the point of where, oh my goodness, this is going to devastate me, or this is going to, absolutely change the course of my life. Because obviously you see that with or without social media, I'm going to live my life just like anybody else. They're going to live their life, or possibly go into another social media outlet to try to promote their business podcast or content that they're trying to create. It makes no difference. So I can't be attached to this idea of, oh my goodness, Mark Zuckerberg just decided he wants to ban me out of his platform. But strangely enough, that's only within my personal page. Now, why is it that my conference call mixed martial arts page wasn't banned? Which perhaps could be the reason that I'm not the only one that's a part of that whole content that's being driven from behind the scenes. That's a possibility, because I'm not the only one on that account. So that's a reality. But for my personal account, that is where all my contacts were from, in terms of the people that I shared my content with, the people that I knew in the fight world, the people that I have trained with in the fight world, and the people that I've interviewed and shared this content with in the fight world, was all through Facebook. So is it sad in that reality of being banned or being completely outcasted from that platform? Yes and no. And the reason why I say yes and no is because, number one, I clearly explained of the level of toxicity that comes with social media, especially with the types of videos that they'll have you scrolling up and down on that post. But at the same time, if you are in the business of media, public relations, podcasting, journalism, or any of these things that deal with the field of communications, this is an important platform to have, but it's not the end all be all. Because obviously, once this is done, this YouTube stream is done, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the recording of this, and then I'm going to upload it as my first video right there on Rumble. Now, how did I hear about Rumble? Basically from Andrew Tate, because of what had happened to him. He gave people the option to have a different platform outside of the quote unquote matrix, as he likes to describe it. Now, you don't have to completely agree or disagree with his entire worldview. In fact, there's some things that he speaks about that's really intelligent. And then there's a lot of things that he speaks about that's just plain view of just trying to shock you, for the simple fact of trying to gain your attention, trying to get views, trying to manipulate the market into adding ad revenues and streams coming your way. These are a reality that a lot of people have to understand. So on the one hand, I am sad about it, but on the other hand, I'm not. And let me explain why. Now, it's obvious for a lot of people. They know that I'm a Muslim, and I'm not ashamed to display it. In this modern society where everybody wants to be progressive, everybody wants to be woke, that's not something that I ascribe to be. In fact, I look at this possible lesson or this possible loss as somewhat of an aspect of, you know what, now you can focus on your deen, you can focus on your religion, you can focus on the aspects of life that is not toxic, that is not negative, that is not cynical. Because whether you like it or not, and this is something that I had to understand from a discipline point of view, yes, this is a platform that I'm going to use to try to possibly make money, and then possibly create some kind of buzz, create some kind of following, and create a community of people and fighters and fight fans that share the same interest and enthusiasm as I do. Well, the other aspect of that is the cons. When it comes to the pros and cons of everything and analyzing a particular subject, which is what? The cons of that is you're going to have to deal with the toxicity. So that part I'm not going to miss. And only that in and of itself gives me a lesson in what I'm going to do in whatever social media platform that I'm going to do next. Am I going to operate a lot more carefully? Yes. Perhaps in certain aspects of different forms of tone, different forms of how you convey your message, and maybe let loose on certain platforms that will allow that. Although in reality, what is really allowed these days and to whose subjective opinion and matter will it really fall into in terms of what is a violation, in terms of why you get 3 days of a strike or why you get a 30-day ban as opposed to just a 24-hour ban or a 48-hour ban. And these are things that you can't control. So as Muslims, one of the things that we understand being believing men of God is that we're not attached to this earth in any kind of way. So again, I've had all types of content in there, whether it was scuba diving trips or fight videos, fight pictures, or maybe even private streams that I had of gaming and things of that nature that are all lost. Not a complete loss, because there's a lot of it that I still have, a lot of it that I'm just never going to see again if they comply to this permanent ban, which may or may not be, and you don't know. Because why? It's a subjective matter at hand. It's whoever is the person behind that camera or behind that computer screen somewhere in Silicon Valley deciding your fate. And depending on whether they had the right amount of coffee that day or had the right amount of sleep, or maybe didn't have an argument with their spouse or their kids, or work-related issues and things of that nature. So those are the realities of this quote-unquote social media game, is that if, you know what, like, it's all within the subjective matter of who is in front of the camera and who is in front of the computer administrating your faults and whatever it is that you did wrong or didn't do wrong. So that's not something that you can control. So I hold no grudges to anybody that works in that space of social media administrator or even Mark Zuckerberg himself, because this is bigger than that. What this is trying to understand the cleansing of one's self, in terms of, you got to ask yourself sometimes, like, does this suck in plain English? Yes. Is it horrible? Yes. Does it feel like you've taken a loss? Yes. But obviously it's not going to change my lifestyle. Obviously it's not going to change me watching MMA or me training MMA or training with the same people, or talking about MMA with people that I have on my phone or this and that. Sure, I'm not going to be able to communicate with the massive amounts of people that I've accumulated over the years, but nonetheless, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. And you can't allow these things to hurt you. Because if you do, then guess what? In reality, you're just really a slave to this world rather than a slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's just something that is a reality for a lot of people. Now, speaking of that, I want people to understand why I used Facebook as a mechanism of trying to propel myself into MMA podcasting. Well, for one, I'll tell you right now, I've had a really controversial relationship with Facebook. For one, back in the early 2010s, 2011s, and things of that nature, one of the biggest things that was prominent online was Islamic Salafism. And then eventually that came into this world of attention to law enforcement and people of that particular interest. And at the same time, it also caused a lot of controversy, in which it gave me this different platform of people that were interested in hearing what I had to say. And strangely enough, a lot of the people that were interested in what I had to say from the quote unquote Islamist point of view or things of that nature was none other than people who were fighters, ex-fighters, people who were currently fighters, people that were appreciative or curious of seeing people that were highly opinionated, or people that did not care about conveying their message one way or another. And the next thing you know, well, in this portion right now, you got to go see the YouTube version of this, because I'm going to cut out the Rumble stream in this. So Rumble and follow me on Rumble, and then I'm going to continue the story on in the YouTube version of it at the 15-minute mark of YouTube. So here we go. So one of the things you got to understand is that I've noticed a lot of people in the fight world were really interested in this particular narrative, even though they didn't really agree with me. Some of them were Muslims that agreed, some of them didn't, but they were intrigued by the fact that I had the cojones to say these things or had the bravery to come out with certain statements that were borderline radical or borderline controversial. But you got to understand, this was a part of my life where I was a little bit younger. I had a lot more, how do I say this, zeal for fighting the entire world, going at everybody, not showing mercy, which obviously I'm a lot different and a lot more tolerant, a lot older now and a lot more mature, and have a better understanding of people. Through what? Through my experience being in combat sports, training with different people, training with people that I would normally not hang out with on a normal basis during my free time. So you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do with this? Now you're not that Islamist anymore. Now you're not this guy that conveys this controversial message to the world. What are you going to do with this platform, with this network that you've accumulated in Facebook? So I decided, you know what? I'm going to go into MMA podcasting because I talk about MMA so much with different people. I talk about it with different guys, with different fighters, with different people that I've trained with active fighters that are fighting right now. And it was an absolutely magnificent opportunity for me to stay in the field of mixed martial arts and fighting without continuing to be in it. Because let's face it, it's a very hard and dangerous sport. It will cause you brain damage in the long run, depending on how long you decide you want to do it. And at some point, you either have to stop now or stop later. But if you stop later, you're going to accumulate a lot more damage to the point of no return, in which you're not going to have the brain to have different job prospects. The years of building skills in different departments of life that can get you different degrees and different avenues of jobs and different revenue streams and things of that nature. So at some point, you love the sport, you love talking about it, you even predict all the things correctly when you're talking about it with your friends, but you don't gamble. It's not what you do with the knowledge that you have in MMA, because obviously gambling is not allowed in the Islamic faith. So I decided, let's go make an MMA podcast, because I watch all the fights anyway. I even watch boxing. I could add a new twist to that. I have this crowd of people that follow me because of the controversial aspects of what I had posted in my earlier Facebook. So let's do an MMA podcast right in my Facebook. So then, lo and behold, now I'm getting all these different views. I got 3,700, now close to 3,800 views of the Daniel Kinahan story. And then in that same following week, I did one with Mike Tyson punching someone in the plane. That got 27,000 views, and now around 28. And of course, all these other videos that I made that crossed over to the 1,000 view mark. So it was great. It's a great accomplishment, and this is not the end of it. And I'm not going to let that discourage me in any way, because if I can do it once, I can do it again. But we must understand that what Allah has planned for all of us is a plan no matter what. And you're probably wondering, like, why am I talking about something like this in terms of something that's really minuscule to me? Because if you think about it, nothing is going to change about my life. Nothing is going to change about anything that I'm going to do as a man. Nothing is going to change with anything that I do on my daily basis and what I do and what I say. The only difference is that maybe I've lost contacts of people that I rarely talk to anyway. But of course, the aspect of banter and the communication that I have with people around the world, from Africa to Britain to Ireland to the Philippines to Nigeria to South Africa, all the way to India, all these different markets that I was able to touch with my podcast. But guess what? I can go and do it again, because if I can do it once on Facebook, I'm going to do it again on this, and this time only to learn the lessons of my mistakes and never do them again, in terms of the recklessness, that I may have displayed. And here's something that a lot of people are not going to admit. Sometimes it may be your fault. And other times, a lot of people say things like, well, you know what? It's the company's fault because they're tyrannical or this and that. Yeah, but you got to understand one thing. Before you go out and you spill your aspects of Jeffersonian democracy and the Constitution and things of that nature, you got to understand these are private corporations. They have their own rules. They have their own ways of understanding why they do what they do. And there's nothing that you can really do about it. Just like what Allah has willed for you in anything in your life, there's nothing that you can do about it. So yeah, it's a minuscule loss, but you have to understand this is the type of loss that really hurts a lot of people. Oh my goodness, I lost all my social media. I can't get any of my Instagram pictures, all these and that. Well, luckily, a lot of the great moments that I've had in life, I never posted on social media or Facebook. So I still have the majority of them. Were there some things that I have lost? Yeah, but they were very minuscule pictures in terms of like taking pictures after a workout or different fighters that I had met in the past, like Scott Jorgensen, Scott Smith. I had even met Cody McKenzie, the Guillotine King from back in the days. So I have had a huge aspect of MMA history in that private page of mine. But am I hurt by it to any degree? A little bit, of course. As an MMA fan and as somebody that cares about the business and the contacts and the networks that I build for the dunya, yes. But as a Muslim, I want you guys to understand, I could care less one bit, because you cannot allow these things to control your life. You cannot allow these things to control the narrative in your head, because that's one of the aspects that these social media sites will do, especially when you're constantly those types of people that's scrolling up and down, looking at different things, playing with your emotions, and not to mention the fact that metaverse is obsessed with human psychology and how to make people react to certain things. Perhaps maybe they're doing a psyops on anybody that has been blocked or disabled in any kind of way, disable their account in any way, to see how they would react as some kind of study or some kind of data that they're trying to build from. Who knows? But the bottom line is, you can't allow these things to attach you, and you can't allow these things to affect what you want to do in your life. And guess what? Like I said, it's not going to stop anything that I do on my daily life. It's not going to stop me from living my life. It's not going to stop me from watching MMA, watching boxing, and commenting on political aspects of the world, all mixed into those three aspects of combat sports, politics, and current events. It's not going to stop me from doing that. Now I'm just going to do it in different platforms and see what that will take me. But nonetheless, to all the people that I have accumulated over the years in Facebook, to all the people that I've disagreed with, and maybe to even the people that I've offended, I'm here to tell you right now that from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry. And that's not something a lot of people are going to admit when they're wrong. And perhaps maybe I did something wrong doing these things, but only time will tell. And they're going to decide whether they're going to permanently block me or not. And if they do, well, there's nothing you can really do about it other than just move on with your life, because there's still more to life than just social media and going viral and having an audience. But to all the people that I built a positive relationship with, in the positive aspects that I've gained out of that website and the following that I built in that platform, I want to say to you guys that reach out to me any way that you can, if you can, on the comment section below, or in the other social media platforms that you could potentially reach me at. Do so, because I want to continue the banter. I want to continue the debate. I want to continue the positive talk that we have in terms of MMA, in terms of politics, in terms of everything else, and all these great things align. I hope that you guys enjoyed those moments, because I did. Maybe you don't care, which is all right. And maybe I'm just bantering on over nothing, or maybe just blabbering over nothing. But whatever it is, You got to understand, combat sports is a theater of the unknown. And it doesn't stop here. UFC 282 week. Ooh, enjoy the fights. Because I will.